Javelins, freelancers, ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls. Welcome to another episode of AnthemCast, a special episode, a pre-Gamescom episode. I am one of your hosts, Ogaz, but joining me across the other side of the planet is a man who has decked out his little studio at Fort Tarsus rather sexily, I noticed. And I'm sure he's going to tell us all about it. And of course, we're talking about no other than Mr. Binary Nom.
Let's get ready to rumble. No.
Got the boxing voice. What's
I'm
happening?
like you're saying that they're sexy on the cast because you momentarily only said that they were gay about 5 minutes ago. So
I didn't use that word. Come on.
I've finally got round to redoing my office. If any of you had the privilege of noticing what my office looked like beforehand, it was a pretty sorry state of mess. So I went and spent a few hundred down at IKEA and I picked up a bunch of stuff, a lot of LED strip lighting. I've got about 40 meters of LED RGB strip lighting. I've got a bunch of T-cross connectors. I've got a right angle cross connectors. I've got some power sources. So what you can see right behind me is just that's just one lot, which is about 5 meters worth. And then I've got my whole desk this side. And then what I'm also going to do is put some alcatraz in. So I'm going to put some alcatraz around the top, but it's going to have through the middle. You can buy it, and it's basically got a bit of glass running through, so you can put the LED strip light in, and around the top of the room it will light downwards. So I'm just waiting for the Wi-Fi controller boxes to turn up, so then I can control the entire room's lighting via my PC. So the idea is if I can mix it with the NVIDIA Aura settings, so if I blend that in, so any game I'm playing, it will change the color. The room will change the color based on the game that I'm playing. That's what I want to get to.
Oh my God. I love the idea of you walking around your house going, I've got 24 meters of spare LED strip. What do I do with it? Anyone? And you're just like sticking it to the cat or...
Oh, dear. But the idea is, right, when I'm playing Ghost Recon Wildland Ghost Wars and I'm in full PvP mode, the room goes red, right? Night vision, danger. And then if I'm playing a bit of Destiny, it can go green, Anyway, that's what I'm trying to think of.
That's deep, dude. So you're going for like this deep psychological trance that you're trying to keep the viewers in.
Yeah, that's it. So it's like, death and destruction, everything goes red.
So you could have like an emotion set. So then like I know when I'm going to tune in, like I know if I want a certain vibe, I'm going for binary at 3:00.
Oh, yeah. No, it would be pretty cool if you could interact it with the game. So like every time you died, right, the whole room went white. And it was like, that was your soul lifting to the earth. And when you load back in, it'd be red again. Game face.
It's actually binary sitting there, like adjusting the little knob just to make it red. Everyone's like, oh, wow, it's automatic. It's like,
that was actually not a bad idea. I wonder if you could link it to our Gato Stream
Jesus,
Deck.
I was joking, dude.
I'll
Seriously.
have to fucking have a play with that.
This is like the Wizard of Oz, like behind the curtain. Oh my God. Well, you've been adulting it up the right way. Like you've been adulting it up for the geeksdom, the nerdsdom of life. I've been adulting it up this weekend, buying doorknobs, and I spent 45 minutes deciding on hinges for doors today, and I left the hardware store with 52 hinges and like 350 screws. And it was exciting.
What type of hinge did you go for?
Oh, mate, let me tell you. It's called, I can't remember. I know it's called silver, platinum, copper. Fuck, I forget. But they're really good. They look good. Like they're the best hinges you can buy. The guy told me so.
Oh, right.
But let me tell you, my doors, they're going to open.
So the door will open, guaranteed.
Guaranteed. They're going to open and close.
Guaranteed
No door
open.
you've ever opened and closed. But yeah, so I've been doing
Are
that.
they squeak resistant?
Squeak resistant.
Creaking, squeak and creaking resistant.
Yeah, all different. Oh, there is like 18 different types of run hinge. Like there is chrome plated, there's zinc. I could go on. I mean, really, I think the listeners, if they're really interested, I could tell you. But and I also went looking at dining tables, and so yeah, I've had a hell of a day. Yeah, it's been great.
Nice.
It's a perfect way to spend your time when you're 3 days out from Gamescom, of course, which we are. 3 days to rock, not long to go. And we know we're going to have some visual from Gamescom because we had a little beautiful, wonderful tweet from John Warner just pop out only in the last day saying, guys, jumping on the plane, see you at Gamescom, which is very, very exciting. Are you excited?
I am. There's going to be lots of bratwurst.
Yes, 3 days of stinking gamers. Glorious.
I'm pretty disappointed I'm not going actually, and I feel like that is completely on me, because it's actually only an hour flight. So, and it's not actually that expensive either. So, I very well may. So I think my boss is away this week too.
I'm suspecting an impulse buy.
So there may be a thing where all of a sudden I WhatsApp you and say, "Hey mate, I'm on a plane." That may very well happen. So I might fly out in the morning and then fly back that night, just for the day there.
I think it works. It works for you. I mean, it would take me about 738 days to do it, I think, or something.
That's right. Australians only use boats.
That's right. We use boats. Like, by the time I'd get there, I'd be like with a baby. I'd be with a whole different group of people than when I left. It would be like this expedition to Gamescom. I might make it for 2020. Speaking of excitement, though, there's some good stuff. There's some good stuff going on. We've got now GamesRadar have actually just confirmed only last 48 hours that they are doing an interview in their After Dark series with John Warner. So that's going to be at this Thursday, the 23rd of August at 7 p.m. CEST, so 7 p.m. Europe time, 6 p.m. British, and that would be, of course, the following day. It'd be the earlier in the day for that. Sorry, for 10 a.m. Pacific or 1 p.m. Eastern, all on Thursday,
After
the 23rd.
Dark series.
Yeah, so
that sounds in Cologne, in Germany. That sounds extremely seeded to me. Yeah.
I remember, what was that? Was it the movie Triple X where there's like a nightclub and it's in like a cathedral?
Yeah.
And I think
that's right.
Is it Ramstein's in there playing? That's See, when I think German nightclub, that's what I think.
They're all drinking vodka in like big fur coats.
Don't they have an ice room or something? It's just all made of ice.
Yeah.
Like Game of Thrones or something. But
Absolute Vodka have an ice room. Yeah.
So this After Dark, it's almost like GamesRadar are, I guess, looking for a segue or a segment that they can leverage off Gamescom, knowing that they might not be able to get that sort of stuff done during the day. So I think it's quite clever because it seems to be like a series of interviews with developers. It's only for 25 minutes, the slot, 7 p.m. to 7:25. How many seconds, GamesRadar? Like that's a precise... It's on the money. So that was interesting news because there's not really, other than that, we just know that Anthem's going to be in some way present at Gamescom. I mean, it's been told, we're being told that there's not going to be, it will be there, but we don't know what presence it will be. It's going to be probably more likely behind closed doors conversations we're hearing from.
Yeah, I think they are offering playthroughs again, right? But I don't think I think they have stand. They're going to have some javelins, but there's not going to be like our mates in them, for example. They're just going to be the statue versions.
Okay, yeah.
So I think it's going to be part of the wider EA stand. I don't think we're going to see. We're not going to see any. Gamescom has never been, and don't think will ever be a staple of release or of information. I think it's more of a. I always think Gamescom is just a nice little, tip of the hat to Europe and the Europe gamers. Do you know what I mean? I don't.
And also, it's traditionally, I mean, I'm not sure this year, but it almost always has been a very PC-centric show, knowing that, our good friends in Europe definitely are more inclined to play not just the mainstream PC games, but certain like obscure titles like simulation titles and whatnot. Like even, German bus simulators, for example. That might sound strange to you, but it's something that I've dabbled in quite a few times. Look at my Steam profile for that. So there is a lot of obscure titles that I think that do appear on PC, and it tends to be more of that love, that PC love.
Yeah.
A little bit like almost Tokyo Game Show. They have a lot of unique PC titles as well that you just don't see in the general American West mainstream.
No, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. You're right there.
But so I mean, look, I guess from the point of Gamescom, what are you? The article that we're talking about, the release from GamesRadar, they've mentioned that the games director John Warner is going to talk us through an Anthem demo that'll make your eyes deliriously happy. So they've gone with a sales pitch there. My initial thought was this is going to be the same demo that we've seen before, but you were a little bit more optimistic earlier when we spoke.
Yeah, I was sort of hoping that we're not going to see the same playthrough demo. I am hoping that this is an opportunity for them to show something else in the world. Whether it's a different biome, whether it's another Javelin. I sort of slightly am praying that we're going to see something from Storm or maybe Interceptor here in terms of gameplay. Mm-hmm. Because really, when you think about it, we got two major events left until launch, right? So we got Gamescom, PAX West, or the PAX East, PAX West. You got PAX Oz. If EA are smart about it, they will allow you to have 3 major news releases up until launch, and I think they're the points to do it. So I would love to be able to see something from Storm, or something from Interceptor, as in gameplay. And to be honest, I'd actually like to see a little bit more from the Ranger in gameplay too, actually. Because really, the only gameplay trailer stuff we've actually seen is the Colossus. We actually haven't really seen the Ranger, not fully. We saw the Ranger in E3 2016. Was it 2016? No, 2017, sorry. Where we got to see all the video and the original trailer, and we had like the voiceover. But that was crafted and very scripted. It wasn't like the same, or it wasn't the same gameplay that we saw of the Colossus in E3 this year. Right, or EA Play, should we say? So hopefully we might see something. I don't think we're going to get anything groundbreaking out of Gamescom, but it would be nice to see one of the two.
Yeah, Interceptor. I mean, originally the conversation to that was going to be there was going to be some more information towards the summer. I think John had said originally.
Yeah, towards the end of the summer, right? Which is Gamescom.
So technically, it's an opportune for it. But then, of course, we've got PAX West, which is only in early September 3, I think it is. So that's not far away either. So the question beckons: do they use Interceptor as their focus of conversation for the panel that BioWare's been talking about at PAX West?
Yeah.
But then it's a tough one. We always thought. I remember early on that. Was it because Interceptor was planned, but they wanted to sort of level out the release or step out the conversations about it later on for progress towards that during up to launch. But then it was sort of confirmed. I think Ben, or I think it might have been Ben Irving, maybe perhaps even Brennan Holmes on Reddit, then had mentioned something like, "Oh, it wasn't quite ready just yet," which was what we kind of assumed way back when we didn't see much of it at E3. So yeah, I'd be optimistic. Yeah, I'd suspect. I think more probably PAX West, but as you said, it could very well be, even if they just had just something playing in the background or just a 20 seconds capture of Interceptor in action, that would be enough to get people talking. I think.
Yeah.
But time will tell. Time will tell. So yeah, look, I don't think we're going to see much too great, as you say, from Gamescom based on what we know from Gamescom typically. But who's to say what's going to be seen behind the closed doors in terms of those that play it? And of course, knowing that Binary Numb will be jumping on that airplane on Monday or Tuesday to experience that, I'm sure.
Do you know what's funny is I was just I'm looking at flights right now. Right? So I didn't realize it was so. I can go back. I can get a return trip, so I can leave on the Wednesday, and I can come back on the Thursday. And the flights are only £36 round trip.
No pressure, bro.
Yeah. I may have to disappear for 20 minutes. I need to explain how I'm going to do that to the wife.
Yeah.
I might tell her I'm at have to stay in London for the night and then fly to Germany.
Yeah, it works. As in, like, for like a work trip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I may have to do that.
These business trips. I hate those business trips. They're the worst.
I'll have to stay in a travel lodge just so it looks like it's the same hotel in England.
Dear, oh, dear me. But so yeah, look, we'll wait to see what we can hear more from PAX West in the coming days. No doubt we will. And then, of course, as we say, the wait from then to early September to hear from Mark Dara, who has confirmed he'll be at the panel running from PAX West. So certainly some interesting things to come. Speaking of Dara, of course, he's been pretty busy on the Twitters. Surprise, surprise.
I don't think it's even him anymore. I think he's got himself a PA.
I don't know. Do you think the PA could maintain that dry wit?
I love it. It's great.
Yeah, he's certainly keeping it fresh. No doubt about that. And of course, the last few days in particular have been talking about Strongholds and a few other things. But I like this tweet in particular. It was a response to Strongholds themselves in Anthem game having a time limit. The answer was no. There's no time limit. Now, were you expecting a time limit from a Stronghold?
I was never expecting it in the first place.
I mean, I can't. Is there a precedent that would be similar that would have a time limit to it? I can't think of one.
No, I can't think of one either. This is no, I can't. Have any type of time limit. I can see. I can understand games who have missions with time limit elements. So certain activities are time bound within a mission, but not the whole thing. You know, you got to put the thing there before the timer runs out, otherwise the thing explodes. Right? I get that.
I suppose looking at that, the missions where you had to do the silence the relic, but those never timed from what I saw on screen. It was almost like you just got to collect the three things, put them in the thing, and then stop the thing, like you say.
Yeah, that's exactly what you had to do. So no, I don't think there are any. Nothing we need to worry about.
Yeah. Well, I got a question for you. How big do you think spiders get?
Well, in England, not very. But you live in Australia, mate. So if they're going to get big, they're going to get big where you live.
Well, yeah, they get pretty big here. They do. But look, we've got enough to worry about outside of just spiders. I mean, like, we've got trees and drop bears and kangaroos and koalas, like vicious koalas. It's too much. It's too much. So, you know, you're right. The answer, of course, to this question was big from Mark Dara.
Thanks, mate.
Which beckons a question. You know, when we saw in the gameplay trailer that they released, of course, post E3, and that the players at E3 got to experience, we saw, of course, the queen mother of all the spiders, and we saw the
queen of the swarm.
And then the swarm themselves, and you'll notice that they have little names like Soldier, for example. Like, they almost have their class identified in some way, which is interesting. The Soldier spider.
I missed that.
Yeah. I was just talking about with the guys on Anthem Universe the other day about that, and it's interesting to reflect. So, I'm just curious: is are you looking forward to fighting spiders? Were you expecting that from BioWare?
Well, I was expecting creatures. So whether they're 8-legged, 2-legged, 20-legged, or millipedes, I would expect something. I mean, you got to draw your influence and your ideas of monsters from somewhere. Why not go with spiders?
I liked the allusion to that during that. You remember that mission where they're walking into that stronghold, and I think the objective is to find the source of the eggs. Like, I remember last time I was like when you see that writing, you're like, yeah, stuff's going to go down right now. I think.
Yeah.
There's going to be.
I'm going to trample on a load of babies, and then the mother's going to come out and want to kill me.
Yeah. What else did we have? Ooh. this is one. So someone asked about the real creatures. Will some of the creatures in Anthem be real, or will everything be fantasy-esque? Now,
Perfect answer.
What was the answer there?
Apparently, he saw a turtle that day.
Yeah. Now, to clarify, he may well have just seen a turtle at an aquarium that day.
Are we? I don't quite get whether he's taking the piss or whether he actually did have a turtle swimming in Anthem.
Or was he playing Assassin's Creed or something? It beckons a question.
Yeah.
So you're right. We're at that point now with that dry wit that we're almost used to it and we know it, but then everything he says, we'll constantly second guess it.
Yeah, you'll question it. Yeah.
Oh, he's killing us. But again, this is quite. I know we said this months ago when back in July June when this sort of started to happen from the first AMAA from Mark. But it still remains to be a very obscure, interesting and refreshing, but also challenging way of releasing new information. It's still reassuring that there is wildlife. I think that really. I mean, that stood out for us way back in a year ago when that first shot of the Ranger jumping off Fort Tarsus platform, flying through that piece, and then there was just fauna and flora. Animals were moving around, the Strider moving across in the distance. It made the world real, and then of course we had. Who we have actually now nicknamed, if you've noticed, in the Anthem Discord, Anthem Universe Discord, which is discord.anthemuniverse.com. And of course, his name is Gary, the giant King Kong-like monster that you might remember from that first trailer. Yeah. So now, just so you know, he's officially called Gary. Yep, that's how it works. And the Grabbits, I think, are called Squirts. So we've got Squirts and Gary represent.
Squirts and Gary.
Yeah.
Just waiting for Steve to turn up.
So, I mean, are you thinking that because you remember in that first trailer they alluded to these monsters and then said something like, "We're going to fight that monster another day," and since then we've seen nothing of that. We've seen an Ash Titan that was admitted on screen to be just too large and too overpowered and not quite ready to I guess be experienced in game right now. But we haven't seen any interactivity with King Kong and those monsters. So do you think maybe they're pulling back on that, or maybe they're just holding back to show it right now? Or?
Yeah, I think they're very, very coy about the information they're trying to share. And everybody is clutching at straws to what that could be, because it's a shared world, right? So whatever happens in your server will happen in someone else's. I think they have to be pretty careful about the amount of wildlife that will be available, and what types of wildlife, because obviously the AI around those animals will have some type of server resource, right? So the population density is going to be an extremely interesting one come live, and that's something that we're just not going to know about. And it actually falls back to a question I've always had, right? So they've never, I don't know if they've actually said that it's dedicated servers, right? But we can assume that it's AWS virtual servers at a bare minimum. But they're only saying that only 4 people per server or per virtual instance will exist, which is actually quite low in today's day and age. So in today's day, it is really low, right? You've got a game like The Division, for example, which allows for 24, but that's actually quite a lot for the amount of environmentals that the servers have to deal with on an individual basis, right? On top of all the firing power, on top of all the mods, on top of everything else. So the load on the servers in The Division, for example, are pretty heavy, but they allow for 24 people, whereas Anthem only allows for 4. So how much of an AI-based world are we actually going to be playing in? And I'm assuming quite a lot, which will lead to a lot of variations in the types of creatures we have to deal with, a lot of variations in the type of mobs and NPCs, and just shooting shit things, right? I'm going to assume, but I am going to make the assumption, this is just an assumption, that we are going to have some pretty good level of intelligence to the NPCs, right? Because the amount of compute that is available to people or to companies in the resourcing world in this day and age is a lot for not a lot of money. So the only thing that really churns up computer or CPU usage is AI decision making. So I'm hoping that we'll get smart, different behavioristics from different creatures, and you'll get because they keep talking about this thing where the world feels alive, and I think that's probably why they haven't talked about it yet, is because a lot of AI and environmental has gone into the creation of this environment, which is extremely CPU server heavy, and I think they're waiting for their time to really talk about it. I know that was a really long tangent, and I'm very sorry.
No, well,
but I think it's just an important point.
Well, it works, especially that you bring up Division. Division in its early days had a lot of, for lack of a better word, nuance with how it handled the server load. So it had some very things that what you call a client side, and some certain things was server side. In the early days, they actually had some pretty blatant things that were running client side to improve performance, that they then later tipped to the server side correctly, I should add, because some of those client side things were meaning that people could, ultimately hack the game and cheat, essentially.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of balance and refinement that happened to how that game manages, and that stuff's not easy to change. Post development, that's kind of coded in the way the game is built and behaves, and it makes me wonder with Frostbite. Obviously with BioWare using Frostbite for Anthem, I wonder how that server, split, that load, the client side versus server side interactivity is going to go, because for them it is it's not a new experience. They know this from Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, but it's not the conversation's not new. But this type of game still remains quite an experiment for them. So I wonder how well, if at all, I wonder how well Frostbite will manage it, and it might be raising concerns where there aren't none. But as you say, the difference there is that there can be a reliance on the AI, because we just don't have the amount of players that we have in other games. That does raise some questions, though. For example, does the dynamic world that they've been talking about, so this idea, because we've always talked about weather, shape of storms, weather and change to the environment, but I guess this adds a whole addition to that conversation, because if they can change stuff like the animals and the monsters, for lack of a better word, that are in the world, that again, that's something that to go back to Division for a moment, you can't really do that. You can't just throw a monster in the middle of New York City. Well, I mean, you probably could. You'd call him Marshmallow Man, and it would be awesome. But that's not going to happen probably in Division. But in Anthem, there's a whole lot of sense that you could just introduce this ridiculous beast that could be wow, they can just make, if they can do that, the extent of the game, the extent of the Elder game after you finish it, it's endless.
No, yeah, you're right.
But
yeah,
interesting to see. And then, of course, this follows on to the next tweet where they talked about underwater creatures. And the question, of course, was, will there be underwater combat? Of course, there's no underwater combat. But the question was, will there be passive creatures underwater to help with the ambiance? And the answer to that was yes.
It's yes. Yeah, we knew that from the gameplay trailers. There's jellyfish and plankton and shit. Underwater looks beautiful, I have to admit. See, in a lot of the gameplay, the underwater does.
Well, do you remember that? I mean, to be fair, we gifted the crap out of that first trailer back in 2017 when the Ranger erupted from the water. Remember that when he comes flying out of the Deadlight Caverns area, lands with a shotgun, I think it is, and just goes to town on some scars, and that was awesome. And right. Then the same segue to that again with the latest trailer where the Ranger dives in and then emerges and then just starts going to town again. So there is something just, I think, satisfyingly awesome about flying out of water and just beating the crap out of things. I think that's confirmed. But anyhow, moving on. This is something I wanted to ask you about because I was thinking about the gear sets that we became so familiar with in other games. And previously, Mark Darrow had confirmed that there would be set bonuses, which implies that based on you using a certain set of equipment, you would receive bonuses as a result of that. And it was then sort of further asked if a collection meant that it was gear or was it a bonus or how did that actually work? And Mark's response to that was that collections will be given bonuses. So, I mean, where does that sit with you?
I think that's great. I think it's great. So what I don't want to see, and if it will depend on how they break that down, right? So if a full collection, so you've got a full Javelin piece and the corresponding weapon pieces, you get a bonus. Fantastic. Standard RPG stuff, right? Brilliant. What will be interesting, and to whether this will come to the diversity that they were talking about by having an array or a myriad of different javelins, right? Is can I mix set? So can I cross-pollinate collections? Yeah. So can I take something from collection A and use it with collection B? I'm not going to get a collective set, but those individual pieces have bonuses. So am I able to create Frankenstein builds? Now, we've seen this go completely horribly wrong in The Division, for example, where you would then end up with metas, right? But those metas are predominantly driven by the PvP environment. The fact that actually this game doesn't have PvP, I'm going to lend this more in the hope that it's actually probably a little bit more Monster Hunter world, where we can have mix sets and you get different, depending on the play styles used, whether you're a ranger, not ranger is in the Javelin, but whether you're a long range weapon, short range, close quarters, and you can pick different pieces and different sets to help boost up those specific sets or mid-max as people would want to be able to do. And they still haven't alluded to that. They've alluded to now we have collections and we have set bonuses for those, but I want to know about the bit in between.
Is that around gear as well for you? I mean, are you expecting to see the diversity that you see in Monster Hunter?
Oh, fuck. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. In Monster Hunter, right, it's a little bit... And this game, and the more and more I talk about Anthem, the more and more I feel like this is just not it is a Western version of Monster Hunter. It is just that game. So I'm sort of hoping that we're going to see different sets that come with... that are designed based on different triumphs, that are designed on different feats that you do within the game, or different things, right? So you earn a set because you've achieved a certain activity, or you have to do that activity so many times to craft it. Stuff like that. That's what I'm hoping for, because that's really where the longevity comes from. Because without PvP, unless you're friends or grouping up with someone, you're not going to see anyone. Right, so your gloating and your ability to own stuff isn't going to be there. Yeah, you're actually in a solo world unless you're grouped up with 4 people, with 3 other people. Right, so there is no social space. There is no social space where you take Destiny for example. I'm going to go to the tower, and all of a sudden, it doesn't matter if I'm grouped up with them or not. I can see 30 other people. Right. it happened to me the other day, right? I was going through Destiny and I realized this guy's just he's completed the Solace event and he's got this armor, and I'm like, oh damn, I really wish I'd got that armor now because I didn't realize how good it looked. Anthem, you're not going to get that because unless you're grouped up with someone, you're not going to see any other ranger, right? So the reason for me to want to collect those different, or to have those bonuses and to have stuff like that, is to be able to have, is to become a mid-max PvE. Right? Does that make sense?
You raise an excellent point. And that also applies with things like skins and customizations. One of the tweets that just came after that was about purchasable skins, and would it be just based, would skins and and I guess outfits be just based on textures, or will there be other elements like spikes and other things that are exposed from the equipment? And Mark has implied both. So there'll be skin variations and tone and color variations that you can have for your outfit, and then for different parts of the gear that might come off the outfit as well. And that, I mean, then that goes back to your point, is that you're not really engaging in that Crucible kind of open public environment to go check out my stuff. And it raises some interesting points. So, that might mean that the opportunity there becomes less or so much about inside the game. Obviously, it's going to be with your 4 players, no doubt, with the people you're playing with. You're going to have that check out my stuff mentality. But in terms of the public space, what does that look like? Does that look like I screenshot and post it on Twitter? Is it something else that they might have in the works in terms of the social space? A lot of, for example, originally when Destiny had the Destiny app, I remember very much enjoying going into just to see what I'd created, and I could look at my phone. I'll be at work, as we nerds are, reminiscing about my build and looking through the stats and looking through my armor and that kind of stuff. And maybe there's some other social space they've got, or some other social idea. I mean, we haven't seen that evidence of that, but yeah, you're right. You raise a really good point. How does that get championed? How does that sexiness, other than just the self-actualization of it? I mean, there is a great self-actualization there. There's a great, personal.
Oh, absolutely. And you can look at, and you can look at things like, and one of the microtransactions Ubisoft have done really well is in like Assassin's Creed Origins. Yeah. Assassin's Creed Origins is a solely single-player campaign game. However, what they've done is they have, through microtransaction, given you the ability to purchase different outfits for Bayek and different outfits for Aya, along with different weapons and different camel mods and stuff. However, and they're no one. You don't share the world with anybody, right? So you're not buying that to show off the feats against yourself against any other player. It's purely for your own aesthetic reason, and they've done that really, really well with the addition of photo mode and so forth. But that's it. It's only for your own self gratification, or the collectors, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Actually,
I would die for a social space.
I mean, even I remember when Rockstar started theirs for even, I think it was Grand Theft Auto 4 when they started the Rockstar social network, and that was awesome. Like, I went on there before, like, I think 3 months before launch. I had my clan logo set up. I had my clan logo set. I mean, in the end, we didn't actually end up playing too much of the online world. This might have been GTA 5 now I think of it. No, but anyway, whatever it was, I remember we didn't end up engaging in the end too much, but there was that social need and enjoyment. But as you say, photo mode is actually quite potent. I mean, obviously it tends to be, I mean, we've seen it in God of War, obviously in Assassin's Creed as well, but photo mode really rises. Zero Dawn. Oh yeah. So that could be one way, and I think we can certainly vouch from what we've seen. The environments that they've built from what we've seen with Anthem are going to be something pretty nice to look at. I'd be happy to save those as a desktop wallpaper, So that might be the one saving grace. If you can get that photo mode, you can share that. Maybe if it's taggable, I don't know, you can share your uniform and your outfit that way. There might be a way that you can shout from the mountains as opposed to just shouting to your local team. But yeah, good point, man. Yeah. Interesting. Well, let's see how we go. Maybe we'll hear more about that down the track. It is going to be something important. It's kind of probably fresh for the conversation for BioWare from this perspective, but I'm sure they've no doubt thought about it because there's a lot to it in this type of game.
Well, they would have. Like you don't run Star Wars online without thinking about this type of stuff. They just haven't talked enough about it.
You just have to go. I was even looking at the. I haven't been there for a few years now, but the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic forums, and they're still swinging. Like, there's the rest. I think in terms of game support from BioWare, I don't think they have forums for the other games anymore. But it was just that one. They've kept a dedicated forum open just for Star Wars, and it's I checked it out, and it's still pumping, and it's very sexy too. It's very nicely presented. It's probably one of the nicest forums I've seen in a long time. But anyway, hopefully they can embed some or copy some of that ethos over from what they've seen with that success. The next tweet on the agenda was interesting, and it was a question about when you die in a stronghold, then respawn at a checkpoint, and the boss dies, will you still get credit, or do you have to be there when the boss dies? And I find I'm liking these specific questions coming out of the woodwork. And of course, the answer there is we disable respawn in the boss arenas. You have to be revived there. Are you looking forward to taking on the boss under these conditions?
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty normal.
Standard. Yeah. Standard. So basically, if you've got a noob in the team and he keeps dying, you just leave him there. Yeah. So, lesson to you, my friend.
I think we were joking the other day in the Discord that on day one, as soon as everyone can get Storm, that you're just going to be joined. Like, you'll join up with your Ranger or Inti, and of course you'll be with 3 Storm.
Yeah, I'm going to be in my Colossi. Yeah.
I think
my Colossus, and I'm going to watch you lot die, and I'm just going to walk around like a tank, and then providing there is a crouch button, I'm going to emote crouch over each one of your carcasses, and then I might revive you just as I kill the boss.
I love it. You're going to be the only Colossus, man. There's going to be 3 Storms and you, or three Inties and you.
Well, it'll be interesting to see because I think we can't we? Mark actually did say that you start with the Ranger, but then you choose which way you want to go round the missions to unlock which ones. But obviously, I'm guessing though that even though he said that, I reckon it's a little bit more sneaky than that in the fact that the map will be leveled, gated, right? So I reckon like Storm and Interceptor will be hidden behind the higher leveled stuff. So your natural progression will always be Ranger, Colossus, and then either Interceptor or Storm, right? One of them will be last and one of them will be through the tougher areas. So it'll be interesting to see. I can't wait to see how.
Actually, now you think of it, I would love to see like some data of that. Do you remember when the beta for Detroit came out? What Sony did, and just after, probably like 3 days after the beta finished, they released data about how people played the game. And I thought that was cool because not only is it obviously indicative from a marketing point of view for this, and it was good. You start to realize how wicked people truly are. But it'd be interesting just to see like whether or not if they do go to that demo that they've been talking about, and when they do go to that demo they've been talking about, or if it's a beta or whatever that looks like, if we could get some stats on that, that would be awesome. What hours do people spend in, and even after the game launches, what was the first secondary Javelin of choice? Those are little things I think that help drive engagement. They drive excitement, and they make us feel like we're part of this big world. And it's a numbers game. I know not everyone's fan of those numbers popping. We've kind of confirmed that from a lot of the feedback from the community, but you can't deny there is something addictive, something awesome and powerful and sexy about those numbers popping. And there's nothing even better when going to work, opening up an article and going, "Oh crap, that's how the whole world is picking this game." Interesting.
I need to go for a piss.
You got to keep that in. Anyway, so maybe we'll just edit out there's 4 bits left and just jump. So one of the next tweets, of course, that Mark dropped was customization of colors. We just talked about colors and whatnot a moment ago, but it has been confirmed that full color customization and some part customization as well. So again, not unexpected. But the idea, of course, that you're going to be able to tweak different elements of your armor and different tones of the armor, and of course, different pieces of the gear that you place on that means that there's going to be some very unique looking javelins. I think we can say Speed Stripe Binary probably will be the favorite of yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Maybe some LED RGB strip lighting up and down the arms as well.
Oh, you're thinking like a
disco stew,
Christmas tree mod.
Yeah. Well, no, mods are not confirmed.
Oh, that's
true. There is no mod support.
Yeah, there is no mod support. That's
that true.
That was one recent tweet.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, imagine having like random blinking LEDs on.
Yeah, exactly.
That would look so ridiculous. Especially if you're doing
like flight lights.
Yeah. And you'd be in a team and Binary's got his LED flashing on and off, and you just hear this guy, Leroy Jenkins. You just see these flashing LEDs run through. That would be great. So anyway, not surprising, but interesting to us. The next one is actually really interesting, I think, to both of us from our Mass Effect pedigree and love, in that there is indeed a codex that has been confirmed. We did know there was going to be lore in the game. They talked about lore elements already, but we didn't specifically know if there was going to be a codex, and there we have it confirmed. There will be an in-game journal or codex of encyclopedia.
Yeah,
it's not voiced, however. Now, I mean, is that a game breaker if it's not voiced for you?
No, I don't think it's. I don't think it's a game breaker. I like the fact that that's really the first time they've actually. That tweet's a little bit bigger than I thought. I can't remember the time where they've actually confirmed a single place where you can actually look at a codex for the entire game.
No.
They've mentioned before about things like, you'll be able to look at the lore in game. There'll be a place for you to look. Mm-hmm. But it's the first time they've actually called it a codex. Or the name. I'm taking the assumption, right, that they're going to call it a codex.
Yeah.
That's the first time they've done that. I love the fact that there is one. I've been dying for one because I like my lore. If it's voiced or not, I'm not too worried.
I think usually with these things, you actually tend to read ahead anyway, because the voice will read it at a certain pace, and you just want to skim it.
Yeah. Well, it'll be dramatized, right? The voice will be dramatized. So, no, I don't. I think the fact that they have a codex at all is fantastic.
To be fair, the questioner, the guy who asked the question, who was it actually? I should mention that for that purpose. It was Big T. Thank you, Big T. Of course, it was Big T.
Of course it was.
I was waiting for XX_XX Extreme Xbox
-69.
But of course, no. That he actually specifically said, "Will there be a codex?" And I think we know, again, based on Mark's wit and typical response, he's basically using the man's language. So he said, "Yes, there is a codex."
Yeah,
and it's not voiced. We don't know if it's going to be called a codex per se, but I would hint that it would probably be something that more relates to the actual lore of the game, like something related to Tarsus or something related to Helena, or more like that, I'd suspect.
The Tarsus archives or something.
Yeah, like the Bible or something, the Bible of Helena. I don't know. The Anthem. But yeah, so that is reassuring. I'm going to look forward to flicking through history, knowing how many planets that I read about in Mass Effect, just because I thought that I needed to.
Like when you didn't,
but you start to learn about percentages of oxygen and carbon dioxide on a planet, and you really start to then wonder, what am I doing with my life here right now? I'm sitting here in front of my TV reading about statistics of a fake planet. But I don't know. I don't know how far I read into it for Anthem, but as you say, there's clearly those runes that we saw in the gameplay trailer. So there's no doubt things like that are going to be adding to the lore. Plus, of course, the Scars, Dominion, the Outlaws, all of the confirmed factions that we've heard about so far. There's going to be plenty to put in that book, and very exciting. And what else we got here? Strongholds is used as a term. Now, this is interesting. Strongholds have been confirmed to not be all underground, and I know that might not seem like a big deal, but it's a fair assumption that people may have made that the one stronghold we did see was underground, and there was a lot of comparisons to it being a dungeon, like dungeon-like or dungeon-esque. So for me, it wouldn't have been too far-fetched to just go with that assumption that they're all underground, but of course, Dara has confirmed that strongholds are not solely underground.
I'm just trying to think. The video that we saw of the underground, of the current Stronghold, that was both underground and above ground. It was just that level of verticality I think people are missing. Like, you entered into the Stronghold underground, but then as you push through, you actually came out it was like a side of a huge cliff, and
right.
the central piece was outside, right? And I think that's what people are slightly missing here is the level of verticality that the map has. That, because I don't think we've seen any strongholds that are 100% underground.
No, and
because that one we saw was half and half, right?
And I guess maybe the connectivity of that, or what people are trying to grasp onto, is that, remember how it faded out and said, some time will pass, or for the benefit of the video, we're going to skip some time ahead. So and then remember, they did say that an average stronghold would be 35 to 45 odd minutes. So maybe there's a point there where people are latching onto the fact, well, how long was that segue that we missed? Was the 35 to 45, as you're suggesting, from the very beginning when they first dived into that that little cave after going past the Ash Titan in the gameplay demo? So, and I think you're right. I think it starts around that point, and then they go into an open space. There's a few turrets and a few other things they've got to take out. Then they head into the cave. So I guess that you're right. People might be getting confused when the Stronghold actually starts.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see, but at least they're not all underground. At least you have that confirmed.
There you go.
That's great. Exciting
stuff. And last but certainly not least, from the Diaries of Dara. There we go. There's the new segue name for the. I don't know what I'm talking about, but we'll call it Diaries from Dara. Diaries from Dara. That works. Guns require hover. So this was important. There was a question that was asked about shooting, and of course you cannot shoot whilst in motion, in flight. Again, that might sound obvious for some, but it is a good question, I thought. And in factual fact, Mark has replied that there is guns do require hover, so you'd have to stop in stasis to put yourself in a position of vulnerability to fire. So, I mean, I guess that's fair.
Yeah, Storm is the only one that can move and shoot at the same time, right?
Shoot, or you mean elemental powers at the same time?
No, so when in hover, when they're hovering, Storm. So I haven't seen the Ranger, or I may be misremembering this, but the Ranger and the Colossus, I've only seen them fire when they're hovering statically. They've not been moving. Yeah, whereas the Storm actually has been moving towards targets and back from targets in the hover mode using the SMG.
Yes.
So I don't know whether that's just purely because we haven't seen the Colossus do that yet or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of scenarios other than that would apply. Every time we've been in flight, like even Colossus, he did the ground and pound from.
Yeah, you can't shoot when you're flying.
Flight. So, yeah, look, I think that works. I think otherwise it would just be you go, it'd be just completely overpowered. The idea that you're just flying around shooting everything without even
no, you need vulnerability.
Stopping. There's got to be some sense of vulnerability, as you say. So, I think that's not a disagreeable outcome. I think it works fine with what we've seen so far. It should work well with the game build. Obviously, more to see from that. And that's probably the most ones. I mean, there was a couple of points that you mentioned before about no modding. We do know there's not going to be any modding, at least at this point, supported for the game. And Mark Darragh commented that there's technical limitations with the current build that would probably hinder that kind of activity. Although we do know it's perfectly possible. We've seen it time and time again. And if one thing PC gamers and the PC hackers and whatnot, the modders are certainly good at, it's proving developers wrong by working out routines. But of course, given the nature of the game, mods are going to be very difficult. It's a very online-centric world. Anything that you change would be only client-side. You wouldn't be able to change things server-side. And we do know that this game is very dependent on, of course, the server decisions. So it wouldn't make a lot of sense to really allow for local mods unless they go the route of Bethesda and actually support, their own mod system. Which again, that's a rare thing, and you got to wonder the time investment in something like that's probably
it's
just
pretty
not worth
rare.
it.
Yeah, it's pretty rare.
And there was another piece that enemies will be on your compass. So I think that's a fair assumption as well. But if you were curious whether you'd see enemies, yeah, you will, and you've got them on your compass. Enjoy.
Hey, UI update.
That's right. But look, that's probably the bulk of the newer information that we have this week for Anthem. And certainly excited to see what's going to go down in the next 3 days at Gamescom, if there's much there. But even if not, just to see and hear John Warner's beautiful, eloquent voice as he talks to GamesRadar and expresses his excitement, no doubt. And of course, Binary will be thinking about having a few cuddle times with him too.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, if you jump on that airplane, you could be having some good cuddle time.
Man, I'm extremely tempted.
Again, no pressure.
I'm not joking. I'm going to be in the office tomorrow, so I'm going to have a quick look. You may find me flying out.
Look forward to hearing from it. So tell us, my friend, as we start to wrap this puppy up today, what's the goss? Where are we going to find Anthem?
We're going to find Anthem in the pre-order store, and that's where it will be until February next year.
Now you have pre-ordered your Legion of Dawn, correct?
I have.
Very good.
I've pre-ordered on the PC.
Yes, same here. Yeah.
I'm still holding out for
for collector's Xbox.
Collector's, yeah, and then I'll buy the Xbox. But I'm praising and hoping out, but no such luck so far.
It hasn't been pretty unconfirmed for such things. But awesome. And what about Anthem Universe? Where can we find it?
Anthem Universe, you can find us at anthemuniverse.com. You can join us in our Discord, which is discord.anthemuniverse.com. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Google Play. You can find us on Anchor. You can find us on Pocket Cast, pretty much everywhere. Spotify pretty soon, I'm hoping.
It's what they call market saturation in the business world.
Yeah, that's right. You can find us anywhere and everywhere, really, on Twitch, on Mixer as well. And hopefully, as we get closer to launch, we will start seeing a bit more live streams. We were going to do it today, but my face is too ugly right now, so we're not doing it. And you can find me at Binary Num. And if you want to add me, get some game time, you can add me on PlayStation, Xbox, PS, on PC, on all Steam, everything Binary Num.
Awesome. And of course, if you haven't already checked it out, do drop by the Anthem Universe YouTube channel, or of course anthemuniverse.com, and check out our latest look at the Anthem lore and music. We spent some time
that's right, I forgot one.
Looking at the musical themes and some of the, I guess, evidence that would be of story inside those themes and the musical devices that are actually used by the composers. So we spent some time breaking that down, and hopefully I think we've hit the net.
It was a fantastic video.
It was a
fantastic video. Yeah,
indeed, very exciting.
Must watch.
Yes. So I'm hoping to see how much of that actually becomes a reality in terms of the themes and the motifs that we've seen throughout the game. So be sure to check that out if you haven't already. And of course, keep it tuned to Anthem Universe as we continue on this journey. I am at OGAZ, that's at OH_GAZ. And as Binary said, as a collective, we are at Anthem Universe. With that said, Javelins, freelancers, we will see you next.
Over the wall.